Welcome back to another episode of the Burn Factory Podcast. What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Burn Factory Podcast. I'm your host, Priest, joined by my co-host, my brother, the one and only Phoenix. Say what's up to the camera.
What's up, y'all?
This is called the Burn Factory for a reason. I was literally caught on fire. 50% chance to live, but through that started this podcast because I believe every single person out there on this planet goes through a burn moment somewhere in their life.
You heard Priest say a burn moment. So a burn moment is a super hard time in your life that you just have to fight and overcome. And me and Priest believe that every single person on this earth go through burn moments that truly make them who they are. But what an amazing guest we have, Priest, today. I'm super excited for this one. He was a pioneer of mixed martial arts. He has the third most finishes in bantamweight history. He's also tied for most submissions in bantamweight history. He's the founder of Team Alpha Male with some of the likes of Cody Garbrandt, Songudon, and Macy Barber. He also has his own promotion called A1 Combat and a book called Laws of the Ring. He was the WEC Featherweight champion, and to top it off, he is in the UFC Hall of Fame.
So please give a warm welcome to Urijah Faber.
Woo. What's up, guys?
Welcome.
Thanks. Welcome to the Burn Factory.
Yeah, this is cool, man. We've been going back and forth on this. I'm glad. I mean, you guys are smart to set up shop at this convention center. Talk about an awesome event. So many good fighters over there right now. I hope you guys get some more.
For sure. It kind of works out perfect because we're right here and we can just go in there and be like, hey, you want to come do like a 45-hour interview? And he's like, everyone's like, yeah, let's go. So why not? It's a great opportunity.
It's packed over there. We were over there this morning. Holy crap!
Changes every year. Every year, it feels like it gets a little bit bigger. And I remember the first one of these. The UFC actually didn't run the first one, and they kind of took it over after that first year. And so they've got it more and more mainstream, and it's like run to a T now. It's pretty impressive.
Yeah, it's well organized. We kind of popped inside there earlier. What's going on the bottom floor, the first floor?
So the way they do it with us is they tell us when to be there. They pick us up. They drive us, drop us off, bring us on stage, take us off stage. So I didn't get a chance to explore. But I know on the plane ride over here from Sacramento, I ran into maybe 3 or 4 people that were competing in different types of competitions there. So I think they're doing jiu-jitsu competitions. They're doing a lot of different booths. But I didn't get to see the full throttle what they got going on.
Yeah, I think on the other side too, I think they have NBA Con going on too.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So it's just a whole packed weekend here in Vegas.
Yeah, absolutely.
Even the gaming that you were showing us earlier before here.
That gaming, so I was just going to check it out, but they do 250 events a year.
Wow.
And they hold all sorts of stuff in that arena that I just toured right before I was here. They are like the biggest in the world. It's, I think it's maybe a $25 million build for this video gaming arena. And, the pro teams, there's kids that are getting signed with big contracts. It's a whole different world that it's pretty similar to the fight game. But
what game are they playing?
I don't know. I think they have everything. Yeah.
Everything? Okay.
I myself, I'm not a big gamer, so I probably wouldn't even pronounce it right.
It's a whole different world. Like they had like a big Fortnite championship going on, and the winner got like $4 million. And he's like 16 years old, and you're just looking at him like, oh my god.
That's that kid's burn moment right there. Completely changed his life.
Yeah, and I think like from what I understand, because I'm trying to put together the whole package for a project I'm working on in Sacramento, but like the attendance and like the viewership of the video game like teams is one of the biggest in the world.
Wow.
So it's like it's got a lot of potential. That's for sure.
You said you're working on a project. What project is it?
I'm not supposed to talk about it right now.
Oh, you can't.
Yeah. Secrecy.
I'll know more on the 14th, but just to kind of continue to build my little alpha empire, I've got a bunch of little things that I've been working on. I've got my Team Alpha MMA. We've got a couple of gyms in Sacramento, and I've got my fight organization, A1 Combat, so we're just trying to build off of that. We've got a lot of things that I'm trying to build that's been kind of like a shanty empire. I'm trying to put some real structure and make some key hires eventually and keep building on it. So as it goes on more, I'd like to come on and talk about it.
We would
awesome.
love to have you on a second time. But on the show, we do use the acronym BURN. So each letter is kind of a different time in your life. So starting with B, beginning, take us back to the beginning. Take us back to your childhood. Were there some burn moments that you had to overcome during that time?
Yeah, I would think so. I mean, everything's about perspective, right? So you try to put a positive spin on everything. But I would say for, my beginning of life was a lot of great stuff. I was born in a house in Santa Barbara, and Isla Vista, actually, which is the college town right next to UC Santa Barbara. My parents were kind of hippies at the time, really strong Christians at the time, and they were part of a group that they weren't going to college, but they decided to have me at home. Kind of grew up in that environment till maybe 3 or 4. Then I moved to Sacramento. Got one brother at the time, Ryan. He's a couple years older than I am, and my sister is 13 years. She's 13 years younger. She didn't come for a long time after, but really, really good, happy upbringing. And then my parents got a divorce, I think, when I was in kindergarten. So that was, I'm sure, a hard time. I don't remember specifically, but a difficult time for everybody. And I was lucky enough to have parents that were super involved and basically fighting for our time on both sides, which I think was awesome. And life wasn't perfect. We didn't have a ton of money or anything, but was full of love and support. And that was the kind of beginning of my life. Was into acting as a kid, doing modeling and acting as a kid. My mom was kind of into that stuff. My dad was a framer by trade, and eventually got his contractor's license. And so, both parents were awesome, very different, but a lot of love and support.
Did you play any sports before getting into wrestling when you were young?
Football was my favorite sport. I grew up playing football, and for me, all my free time, we're on the playground with our buddies. We're always playing football. And I think, had I been, my athletic abilities in 6'4", I'd probably played football.
Really? What's your favorite team?
I'm a Niners fan. I'm like a diehard Niners fan, so I don't really know any of the players right now, but I'm just like, it's ingrained in me to be a Niners fan. So
it's kind of a tough ending to your season last year.
I don't even know. I honestly, I haven't watched football since I stopped playing football.
Oh,
yeah, I'm like kind of
they were like one of the best teams. They had the best defense, and then they were on their like 4th string quarterback in the playoffs in the NFC Championship. It was kind of a tough break for them. But after football, what kind of got you into wrestling?
Well, my brother Ryan, he wrestled when just for a year in junior high. I remember watching him, and I liked hockey. I liked roller hockey. I played football. I was a big boxing fan. WWE, I just like contact things. I was drawn to it. So when I got the opportunity, I jumped in and got my butt kicked the first time, which I didn't really know till the very end that I was losing, because I thought I was doing pretty well. And, you have to have there's rules and scoring system and everything. So I kind of got hooked at that point and continued on that path. So I wrestled my, I think, 8th grade year, and then turned into going out for the high school team, where I kind of took it serious, played football and wrestled in high school.
What was that like, balancing those two sports? Was it hard?
I don't think so. I mean, for me, I've been extremely busy since I was a little kid. People, during my fight career especially, I kind of used to get crap for juggling a lot of things, like, that I needed to focus more on. But I'm just wired where I'm having to do things. Even, I did the meet and greet just now. I got in an Uber. I had a 20-minute meeting, got here just in time to do this podcast, and I have to go to the next thing at 3, and then my wife's coming in. She's, we're going to go to the slap thing with
power slap.
Yeah, power slap with the Kudo guys, which I'm not honestly looking forward to be honest. But and then on to the next thing from there. But like I'm wired like that, splitting time between parents, playing sports, being a good a good student, and used to work. Same thing in college. Was wrestling in college. Had a job. Had a girlfriend. Trying to get good grades. So I'm used to just staying busy. I kind of like that.
So many stuff going on.
You have a lot going on.
So whenever you did go to high school, you wrestled, then you went to college and wrestled, what sparked that interest into getting into mixed martial arts?
I said I was a fan of everything contact. Roy Jones Jr., Tommy the Gun Morrison, Mike Tyson, Prince Nassim Hamed. Those are some of my favorite boxers growing up, and watched the first UFC in '90. I don't know. I think it was '94 maybe, and was just enamored with that. At that time, I didn't know I was only going to be 5'5", 5'6", and 150 pounds. I was like, I'd like to do something like that, but so stayed in contact with or stayed as a fan with it, and as it progressed, I kind of took a chance. I graduated college, and didn't want to get a real job. Had a lot of options, but decided to kind of follow a path of my passion, and really kind of delusional at the time because there wasn't really an opportunity for guys to make a real living there. There's like 1 or 2 events a year, and not my weight class by any means. I think the closest weight class was 170 pounds.
Wow. So starting out, did you obviously have to fight a lot bigger guys?
I did the very first fight I had was at 155 pounds, and I had just wrestled in college at 133 pounds. So I was, it wasn't like I was just weighing about maybe 143, fight 155, but I was just doing it for fun, and I fought a big Mexican guy, had pride tattooed across his chest. I had a little clean comb over. I didn't tell my mom I was fighting until like 2 weeks after, and had a blast, man.
What was her reaction to you fighting?
She was trying to pay me not to do it, and I'm like, well, at the time it was 1.5 minutes, I think my fight was. I got paid $500 between $200 to show, $200 to win, and sold some tickets. And I was like, all right, it's $500 every 1.5 minutes. and then I was already an adult. I was 23 years old and had just graduated college. I'd been living on my own for a while, so it wasn't like she could do much other than, give me a tongue lashing.
What promotion was it?
This was a Gladiator Challenge and King of the Cage. They kind of worked together, and they had like a little pay-per-view model for the King of the Cage. I remember me and Rashad Evans fought on a card together at an Indian casino back in the day, and a lot of guys actually that you probably know of now came up through those small organizations back in the day.
Was it locally, or was it kind of all
local.
over?
Yeah, it had to be on Indian casinos.
Interesting.
Because it wasn't legal?
Yeah.
Oh.
Sovereign land, so they could do whatever they wanted.
Yeah, whatever they
So
want.
my first, I think maybe 9 fights were on Indian reservations, and I could wear shoes back then. You could knee guys in the head. You
On the
fight.
ground?
Yeah, you could do there's all sorts of stuff. They quickly started changing the rules. At the time, I had these gloves too, and I remember Herb Dean, he was a referee back then also, and these things were like gel, so they're probably like 8-ounce gloves, but like front loaded, so they're like little missiles.
Oh.
And he took a look at those and he goes, what the heck? He goes, you can't wear these. I go, why not? He goes, you can't wear these. It's like extra padding. I could like punch a wall. And, I was wearing shoes at the time. You could do whatever you wanted, really, to be honest.
Did they have to go back and get you a new pair of gloves then, or could you even fight still?
No, they got me a new pair of gloves.
Oh, okay. So they had some in
Yeah.
the back.
I put a little protest up, but I didn't win that one.
All right. It's time to go to you and Burn Unfortunate. There are a bunch of unfortunate burn moments that lead into some of the best burn moments. Like myself, I was involved in a science experiment by my teacher that went horribly wrong, blew up in my face, and I was given a 50% chance to survive. And I spent a week in the ICU burn clinic and had 7 surgeries. But that's when I found my burn moment. Is I'm a competitive golfer, and I had my parents and him go get my putter, and I would put 3 golf balls into a glass jar, and all hooked up to the IVs and stuff, and my face swelled shut. I couldn't even see, but I would continuously put balls into this glass jar, and that was my burn moment.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you being in mixed martial arts and growing up, there has to be some unfortunate moments that got you to where you're at today.
Yeah, there's quite a few, I guess, if you go back and look at it. I mean, most of the stuff that was tough for me, and props to you for turning your negative experience into something great. That's like I said about perspective and digging deep and staying positive. Obviously, you have a great support system, have learned some great tools in life. But I think it's cool that you're preaching to the folks can use some motivation. For me, most of my really tough moments were surrounded by things that happened to other people in my family. For myself, I mean, I got in a little trouble in college where I felt like I was in, I had like a phobia of the phone. I had gotten in trouble. I was put on probation at college, where if I got in trouble, I was going to get kicked out and all this kind of stuff. That was kind of a time that really kind of turned me on my head and made me really kind of switch directions. The things that have happened with my family has been, kind of their battles that affected me. And so I think that's kind of more their burn moments that affected everybody. But the lessons that I learned, I think, during the college ordeal was basically, I kind of grew up free-spirited parents. We could do what we wanted, and I was a good kid, outspoken, and a good leader. I went to a great university, but I lived out on 10 acres. We used to drive on the roof during lunchtime, and we do all sorts of crazy stuff, and not a ton of consequences, and we had a lot of freedom. And then I went into like in a dorm environment where I had like RAs, residence assistants, that live right next to you, and their job is like make sure you're quiet and following the rules. That I didn't even look at the rules, to be honest. But I wasn't planning on doing anything crazy. But I had all my buddies come up for the first weekend where they were coming to visit me, and they're wild. We went to Mexico from our senior trip, and we were wild there, and they felt like they were in Mexico again. So I was getting in trouble for everything they did. One guy had like jumped off the second story into a bush, and like another guy had like barged into somebody else's house, and someone else had like said to the police like Popo got a light, and like he got in trouble, like all this stupid stuff. And I was unaware. I was just doing my thing. I wasn't doing anything terrible. I wasn't being great, but I ended up getting written up for everything that they did, and I didn't really understand the level of consequences that it was. I was like, oh yeah, I got written up, and I had a letter that said I had a meeting, and I forgot about that. I was pretty self-motivated, running in the morning and stuff, and I was, you weren't supposed to go in the spa. I wasn't very good at following rules, which I'm still not great at following the rules, but like, I had you weren't supposed to go in the spa till 10, and I had a meeting at this time and everything else, and I just blew everything off on accident because I was just in my own world. And I literally, I'm in this. I went for a run in the morning, trying to be self-motivated and do good for my my wrestling career. And then I went in the spa. I was quiet. He wasn't supposed to be going in the spa, but I went in there anyways. Afterwards, I'm just chilling. And then the RD comes out, who's the big guy in charge, and he's like, hey, you have a meeting, like now, what are you doing? And I'm like, oh, I'm sorry, I forgot, I'm sorry. Put my towel on, go into the meeting with my shirt off, and he was like, I don't think you understand, like you have this, and this, and they try to kick me out of school, basically. And I'm like, oh, I was like, that was my friends. Well, you're responsible for your friends. Well, I didn't, I had all these excuses, and I just didn't understand what kind of trouble I was in. And he's like, look, you're on probation, blah, 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 this and that. And I didn't want to tell my parents. I'm the first one in my immediate family to go to college, and I was like trying to do good and like scared straight. Then I ended up getting in two other little incidents, which were my fault, but, in my mind, it was like no big deal. And I literally got kicked out of the dorms like 5 days before the year was over. And I was like nervous. Every phone call was a bad phone call. Every piece of mail was a bad piece of mail. And I just really had to buckle down, learn about community, learn about following the rules, learn about not thinking I'm above things. And it was a real growing up time for me that I learned a lot from. And I went through college. I was on probation really the rest of my college career, and I went on to set the record for our team. I was the first, I I was the all-time win leader for our college, and I went to the national tournament and had the best success at the nationals. And I, went on to become a coach and work for the college. And I, been inducted in the Hall of Fame at the college and done all these things on the backside of it that, I learned a lot from just being a dumb, like, wild kid.
Yeah.
You think if those experiences don't happen, are you where you're at today?
Well, I would like to think so. A different route probably, but I would have had to have had some sort of coming to Jesus realization at some point because, and it wasn't, like I said, I honestly in my heart today don't feel like I was doing anything wrong.
Yeah, you're just kind of bad place.
Yeah, wrong place, wrong time.
Wrong place,
I
wrong
wasn't
time.
following
Yeah.
the rules. So that and there's times in life where you have to follow the rules, even if you don't agree with the rules or you don't see the perspective of other people. Or so I learned a lot in that regard. I was never like a bad person because of it. And in my mind, I was just like, just realizing how the world works a little bit better, which college is about.
I think when you're on the outside of traumatic events that happen, like for me, and watching him go through stuff, it almost affects you just as much as he was doing. And you kind of mentioned that your family was going through some stuff. So how did you handle those situations from the outside?
Well, I just, one was my brother had gone to school and he ended up having like a mental breakdown and he got involved with a church that was kind of like a cult and that took his whole life in a different trajectory. Another, for me, I was just there supportive and trying to do good on my own side for, and this was right around the same time when all this was happening. Like going to college for me was a huge release from that. Then I had my little sister. She had a car accident when I guess she was about maybe 17, no, maybe 21, I can't remember. And she was in a 6-car pileup and had brain surgery and had her skull removed and all that kind of stuff. And that was another thing where it was her battle, but I was super affected by it. And I was just, again, trying to be there and be supportive. So I've had some of those big moments in our family that are like shocking moments, but they aren't my moments per se. I did my part to be the positive part of my family by accomplishing things and being supportive.
Was there one specific thing that made you bring light to your family during all those tough times?
I think I was in a time where I was building a brand unknowingly, really, just by being who I was taught to be, that was very positive. I think the whole family took pride in that. My mom's mentioned that and everyone else, and so I was somebody that was bringing a positive energy and a positive reputation to our family by being, I'd always say hi to my mom. Just instinctively, I would do that as I'm running out to the cage. She'd never been to one of my fights, and a lot of pride in what I was doing.
Mm-hmm. So during that time, you obviously were in wrestling too. So how did those like dark times affect your wrestling?
Man, wrestling was my only escape and only release from stress when I was a freshman. Because like I said, and this is back in the day, and I was a wild man in retrospect, like not like bad, but I remember I had a roommate who was the complete opposite of me. They put you in these dorms, and we had 3 bedrooms, and then you had an immediate roommate and stuff. And my roommate was like, he'd be up all night. His name was Hatron, but he went by Tony, and he would be up all night on the computer. I never even had a computer, and then he'd sleep all day. He kept locking me out of my room, and I'd never bring a key. And I'm just like, dude, there's all these different things that I was like experiencing that were just me being kind of like unhinged. Like I told him like 5 times to stop locking me out of my room, and he would, like I said, he would sleep out. So I eventually just kicked the door down, and I got in trouble for that, obviously. And so I was like, hey man, don't lock me out anymore. And so I do a bunch of stupid little things that are like, this is not just my world. There's better ways to approach things.
It's definitely a part of the journey. And when reading your book, I love the 4th law when you talk about what was it? It's like, it's not about the destination, it's about the journey ahead. And I feel like
Yeah.
all these little moments in your life had really prepared you for being in the UFC and being on such grand scales.
Yeah, and honestly, from a young age, I think one of the things for me that I also learned in having great mentors and great family growing up was, one thing that I always remember, my parents would always try to do things outside the box. Like, we were not traditional people, like conventional medicines. We were like, had raw apple cider honey vinegar and wheatgrass juice and bee pollen and royal jelly and all this weird crap instead of like taking medicine. So we always would take the hard road, and like my lunches were like, not typical lunches. And I think my parents kind of took a pride on being, walking a different path. And so for me, as I progressed through things, I think kind of embraced like that different approach. But I was always in the limelight. When I was in elementary school, we were in an open school, which is a little different school, and we didn't have A's and B's and C's. It was like outstanding, needs improvement, like check marks and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And then they would do a lot of writing about you and everything. And my theme was always about leadership. Like, Urijah's a natural leader, and being a leader in the right way, doing good and not bad with it. So I remember that from a very young age. That was like was kind of unique. I know that I stood out, or people followed me. And then I was also I was on commercials and that kind of stuff as a kid, and I was a star athlete in college and in high school. So I've had these moments of being kind of like in the limelight and being a leader, but really understanding how to use that for good has been like something that I think was a hands-on deal for people. And so these little moments where I'm kind of unhinged, I just have to reel it back in.
I love how you always say pushing through adversity is just a mentality.
Yeah.
I live by that every single day. Everything you go through in life is so hard, but it makes you stronger as a person, and it's very cool.
Absolutely. And I mean, the truth is we have no choice. If we're alive, we have to live. We have to take on what is coming at us and deal with it in some way, shape, or form. So, how you deal with it that's up to you. And, and you can practice positivity. You can practice being an optimist, and it's harder for some people than others. Like, genetically, people are more prone to be happy and optimistic. Demeanor, mentality, like everything, it's not the same for everybody. So some people have to work harder than others, but understanding, awareness of the fact that it's something you should work on, and something that's important, it's something common in super successful people is a big deal.
This portion of the Burn Factory podcast is sponsored by Phoenix Salon Suites. Please visit Phoenix Salon Suites at PHENIX Salons SALON Suites SUITES.com to find one near you. I feel like unfortunate moments in your life really build you to who you are, and all these burn moments, you keep building, and obviously help you in a certain situation. But it's time to go to R. A little lighter, a little more fun, stands for ridiculous. So all these fights, all these commercials, all these things that you've been doing in your life, are there any ridiculous burn moments that you kind of went through that you could share with us?
Ridiculous moments.
Yeah, it could be like maybe a fan asked you a funny question, or you got a crazy message, or someone yelled something at you.
I've had so many different ridiculous things. I had a lady who somehow, they did a countdown show that had my dad's phone number on his truck for his company, and somehow this lady from North Carolina or somewhere back east got the number, got a hold of my dad, convinced my dad to give my phone number to her, and then put me on the phone with her 13-year-old daughter. And like, they were saying all this obscene things and everything. And then that lady actually ended up, I had an old guy named Red Robinson, who was like a 60-year-old, like wild man kind of, that was at our gym, somehow got a hold of that guy and came and like in my environment. So that was kind of a
Wait, they like showed up?
They showed up.
Like to the gym, or like?
Showed up in how do you used to have a block of houses. They have a gym, like just in my environment. And I'm like, how the heck did this happen? That was pretty funny.
Hey, that's some top-notch research, though.
Yeah, they went to some
resourceful.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think her and Red actually hit it off. She was maybe 20 years younger than he was. He was a wild man.
That's
It
crazy.
kind of worked
Peace,
out in
Red,
the end for him.
everybody.
Yeah.
There's
yeah.
also some definitely ridiculous moments in the Ultimate Fighter with you and McGregor.
Oh yeah, dude. Oh, I've had there's so many of those moments that you don't see. Conor is a friggin' crack up, but we actually went out. I don't know if I've ever said this before, but because we start out as not enemies, but we didn't know each other, or we're not friends, and then we're in the same environment for however many seven weeks or whatnot, and having to see each other, and became friends. And we went out the last one of the nights there and stayed out till like 4 a.m, like me and him and my buddies and his buddies, and we had a blast. And we've built kind of a friendship over that. So we still talk a lot of crap on IG in between each other.
But you guys are still like kind of close? Or
Yeah,
are you
we
close?
still talk. Yeah.
Okay, that's good. I love whenever you and him competed in the watermelon dropping contest from the helicopter, and you beat him, and he was so mad.
Yeah, I let it simmer for a second. He kept asking me, "What'd you do?" I'm like, let that one sink in.
Yeah, you should send him a text and just remind him that you beat him in that.
Maybe I will.
Just give him a little reminder. Hey, remember when I beat you in that watermelon?
We'll just do he's been going through it himself. He's probably having some burn moments right now, that guy.
Oh, for
Yeah.
sure. What's your thoughts on the Ultimate Fighter right now?
I haven't had a chance to watch it yet. All right, there he is. What's your burn moment, Conor?
What's your burn moment, Conor? Come on the show.
There we go. So I have not had a chance to watch it. From what I just had a kid who came in and trained with us this last week, and apparently he was on the show with he was supposed to be on the show, but Conor, I guess, kicked everybody off.
Yeah, he brought
his
like
own
2
friends.
guys with him and kicked. I think he had to kick the 2 guys who were already in out.
Yeah, so he kicked one of those guys out. I just met him, so that's not very cool. But I haven't watched the episodes yet.
Yeah.
I'm saving it till I have some time. Time is the issue, guys. Always. I think
Well,
I
it
told
seems
you.
Like
like
how
you're
you said
always running
earlier,
and
yeah,
running.
busy and
Yeah.
always
Yeah,
going.
It
That's
keeps you
right.
focused too, though. You always got so much things you can't really
Yes.
go off on your own.
People help out with that because I'm not great at staying focused. But what I try to do is get the most done in each day, and like just line it up and knock down as much as possible.
And having a good like team around you, like you said.
Yeah.
Like for us, fortunately, we have such an amazing team that's always
Yeah, it looks like
keeping
it.
us in check and helping us through. Because I mean, without them, we're nothing right here. So it's awesome.
They're
to
part
see.
of it. But you guys aren't nothing, that's for sure. I know what
Thank
you
you,
mean.
appreciate
Yeah,
it.
we couldn't fulfill what we were supposed to do. So
Yeah.
I just gotta ask, what was your thoughts on Conor saying Python?
I tell you.
And you're like, oh, we don't know what Python is. And
Yeah, I had to be quick on my.
You were
heels.
quick on your feet.
He's a witty dude. They didn't put a lot of my stuff in there, editing, but we had a good time. He's a crack up. Somebody said that. 2 people said that to me today. Actually, those aren't python skin. These guys here. It's funny because I took a picture with a guy who had me sign the picture from last time, and I was wearing the exact same pants, exact same sandals from like 2 years ago.
No shirt?
And I go, wait a second.
Same shirt?
No, this
No.
isn't even,
Ah.
this is Josh Emmett. We got him on the recast, yeah.
Oh, that's super sweet.
Yeah.
Doesn't he train at Team Alpha Male?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, speaking of Team Alpha Male, what was it like building your own gym? How hard is that?
It was difficult because I had no money. And, when I started, I had a guy, Matt Fisher, who was a chiropractor at the time, and he had wanted to do some privates. He met through a friend, and he asked if I ever thought about doing a gym, and I'm like, yeah, I would consider it. And so at the time, I mean, he was paying for my breakfast, and I did a lot of sweat equity in there. And I actually started managing guys before anyone really knew who I was. I started a management company back in the day. So we used to manage Chaelson and Anthony Pettis and all my guys, and Mark Munoz and Scotty Jorgensen, and the list goes on. So I built the gym and the team before anybody really knew who I was, and so it was difficult, but fun.
Did you do this all while you were still actively fighting too?
Yeah. This is
wow.
when I started fighting. I graduated college in 2003, and I'm I started a little business called TLC, Top Line Coaching, because I was getting paid like $7,000 a year. If you read my book or checked it out, I think I talk about this whole experience. I was making $7,000 a year as a full-time coach, and then I was doing wrestling camps in fun places in Tahoe and everything else. And then I started a little company called TLC, Top Line Coaching, and I was coaching kids after college at 2 local schools in Thomas and Vacaville. And so I was just, squeaking by, and it was illegal at the time. There's no weight class for me at the time. And so I didn't know what the heck I was thinking. I was a little delusional, which is a good thing if you're doing it right,
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it just kept on. I was bussing tables. I ended up getting a sponsor, and I had this Native American kid that came to train with us, and he started paying me a little bit to, instead of going to college, he was going to be a fighter. And so I was always just barely squeaking by until the sport got to where it needed to be. And I was not worried about money. I was just following my passion.
You guys that whole era is really the pioneers of the sport. Like everyone who fights today should thank you guys, because you guys are the reason they're getting millions of dollars to fight. It's kind of insane if you really think about it.
Yeah, it's a young sport. Well, for being the oldest sport in the world, it's also the youngest sport in the world as far as, and it's the only global franchise, I think, for sports.
Yeah, probably.
I think it is. And so the sport has been night and day. Big thanks to the Fertittas. I love those guys. Lorenzo, I still speak with Lorenzo on a regular basis, and Dana's passion for it. There's a lot of people that try to come in with money into this sport, but to match the passion that they had with the resources is rare, and that's why we're at where we are today.
To think that they were one day away from literally selling the entire thing when it wasn't making money, to now being one of the biggest sports, and COVID really just exploded it.
Yeah, the UFC's Birmingham was COVID.
Yeah, that was a big one.
Crazy. How many consecutive sellouts they have now? Like 20?
Yeah, they're
insane.
doing unreal now.
But it's kind of crazy to see how starting out making only $500 out, going to the UFC and starting to make 15. It's just crazy to see how the sport's taking off.
I got paid $200 guaranteed $200 to fight my first fight.
That's crazy.
That's insane.
But I was also going to be a substitute teacher, which was going to pay, I think, $11 an hour. So I was like, I did one fight, made $500, and I didn't think about all the years of being training. I was just like, that was 1 minute, $500, and that's why I shifted focus from being a teacher to being a fighter.
Geez, you're ready to do it all.
Yeah, I was.
You really have done it all.
I was just trying to hustle.
Yeah. How hard was it for you? Because you put so much time and so many years into the sport. How hard was it for you to walk away?
It's difficult because there's common sense, and then there's the state of the sport, which is fairly new. And like the money that I was getting when I was the world champion in the WEC was minuscule compared to when I retired. So knowing that I'm really good at something and it's a fairly easy paycheck for me, and it's not scary or anything else, it's really easy to want to go back to that well over and over again. But I wanted to prove to myself that I could make more money and have more success without the fighting. And I did. In the time I was retired, I secured some deals that were, maybe 3 to 4 times my overall earnings from my whole career within those years before I came back, as far as assets go. So, I want to prove that to myself, and then coming back was just for fun. Like, people come back for the wrong reasons, that's not good, but I was coming back just had a baby and was just excited.
Yeah, during that time from 2016 to 2019, what did you really do while you were retired?
Oh, man. Retired is not a word for it. I was grinding, and I had some tough moments there too, because I kind of doubled down on the gym, even though the gym business was never a good business for me. And I did that because of a real estate play, and that real estate play, the way I put it together creatively, ended up being really, really a good deal for me. But during that time, I had a ton of trials and tribulations with the gym. I was losing a lot of money to keep the gym alive, to get the purchase of the building done, and all these things that had to play in perfectly. So that was its own battle, and its own, fight. Entrepreneurship.
Burn moment.
Yeah, it's obviously, entrepreneurship is not an easy gig. It's tough, and so, I'm in a really good spot, way things worked out, but it was some moments of like, am I going to have to fold this up? And so that was scary.
Yeah, it's hard to keep the faith, but it seems like you did. So now it's time to go to N, and it's kind of two parts. It's now and next. So what are some burn moments that you're going through right now in your life, and what are some burn moments that you see coming in the future?
I would say the biggest burn moments for me right now are just time allotment. When you have kids, it becomes really easy to prioritize things, and the truth is my priority is hanging out and making awesome kids, so I try to get as much of my free time as possible to be with them, and so then you have to really prioritize what you put your time and energy into. And so especially when you're trying to expand things, you're not at a comfortable place all the time, or if you're trying to grow, so time allotment and where I focus my time and energy as I'm trying to grow things are some burn moments, and I expect to have in the future, like you said, a lot more of those. I've got some really exciting things on the horizon, some things that will be like next level for me, like really big, but things have to fall into place, and I know from experience that things don't fall into place,
Yeah.
So I'm expecting the burn moments to be intense,
Yeah.
but I'm ready for it.
Is it true that your life changes whenever you have a kid?
I would assume so, but for me, the best way I could describe it for me was I felt like they were always there, which was kind of weird. Like, what's the difference? I'm like, I just feel like they were kind of always there. And I also, being a person that wants to be a champion and be at the best of at things, I was like, okay, I'm going to be the best at ever. I'm going to do this even when I don't want to, and this and that. The thing that was shocking in a good way was the things that you think you aren't going to want to do. I was looking forward to them, like getting up at the night and take care of the kids, or like just wasn't a difficult task. I was prepared for it to be difficult, but it came really easy, and it was just a positive thing.
And cleaning their diapers.
Not bad. Yeah, I've never been so close to poop in my life.
I'm not prepared for that yet. Give me some few
Well,
years.
Oh, you got time.
You just hire someone. You'll be all right.
Just hire someone.
That's what I'm probably doing.
That's definitely that's something that he would do.
Yeah,
I'll be hands on
delegating.
with it.
It's not bad.
It's a
You gotta
good
do it.
idea.
You gotta do it a couple times though. Know what you're trying to get rid of.
Yeah, it's gonna be difficult. Like it always like sticks to each other. I'm not ready for that. I got a few years for that. But Team Alpha Male, it's starting to grow really, really big. So
Yeah.
are there any thoughts of maybe expanding to maybe a second gym or to things of that nature?
We have an affiliate program with our Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, Team Alpha BJJ. We have Team Alpha MMA, which we have a hub for. I have 2 other gyms, UFC gyms, in Rockland and Folsom, and we have some affiliates over in Brazil and whatnot. The things that I'm working on in the future, I want to make it like a real team. Like, there's the Sacramento Kings, there's the 49ers, there's the Giants, the A's. It's a very unique, different world because of the way things are structured in our sport. And so I'm trying to be the first to put the pieces together and do something really, really cool and unique that will, I've got a lot of friends that are local owners of the Kings because it's a sexy thing and they get to be part of this ownership. There's real estate attached. And so I want to do that for my team. And there's some other big teams out there. Like if you look at American Top Team and you look at Jackson Winklejohn and even AKA, a lot of those teams have big money behind them. Like Dan Lambert is a very successful businessman. I got to sit and pick his brain, but he loves the sport, but he's funded, the Zinkins with AKA, they're great wrestlers and combat athletes, but they're funded also. They own a lot of Fresno. So for me, I think the next step is figuring out all the pieces and then bringing in some owners and really making some key hires and be able to have a recruiting budget and put fighters up, make it easier for the fighters. Because right now, mine's more of a co-op, and it's like a shanty empire. Like I said, like I've pieced it together through my money that I got from getting hit in the face. So I want to build out of that.
Where did you get the name Team Alpha Male from?
So I was a human development major in college, which is I was one of the only guys in the subject at the time. Thank goodness. But it's something that I studied in animals and humans, and it's not just about brute force or anything else. It's, you know, Justin Bieber's an alpha male, and the top ballerina in the world's an alpha, and there's alphas in everything, and I like the team aspect because even in nature, like there's packs and people sticking together, and I like the idea of success, and I like the idea of camaraderie and building each other up. Like that's what I've done. Now you know who Cody Garbrandt is, and TJ Dillashaw, and Chad Mendez, and Joseph Benavidez, and Macy Barber, Paige Van Zandt, all these different names. I knew them and was helping them out before anybody knew who they were. And now we built, and I talk about this in my book, is personal credit and building your own who's who network. It's not like, oh, I know Cody Garbrandt and I want to know him and brag about it now. Like, no, I helped build Cody, and Cody's helped me a lot. He was a pivotal guy in our team. Stepped up when TJ and Dwayne left and won the championship shortly after. And there's something really special about building a network of people that helped you get there and appreciate that you helped them. That's different than just meeting somebody that's accomplished. It's just a whole different animal. And so I like the alpha aspect. The team alpha is like-minded individuals. The alphas are persuasive. They're a lot of times funny. They're a lot of times very kind, great leadership. And so I like that name.
Yeah.
And it's a pack, too.
It's a pack, yeah.
Continue to learn from each other, too, especially like Cody can take something from Mason. Mason can take something from Jan Chanel. Like, they can all just work together and bounce brains off.
Yeah, and on top of that, with the real life of things, there was a time when I was the baddest dude in the gym, like hands down. And in that room was TJ Dillashaw and Cody Garbrandt, Chris Holdsworth, and all my weight class. And that changes over time. That's Mother Nature, and it's hard work, and it's getting older and things like that. But you can appreciate the passing of the torch when you're a part of it.
Yeah, I agree. But. Yeah. All right, Urijah. Well, you just spelt burn in your life. Thank you so much for coming on the show. All right. Tell the audience where they can find you, all your social medias and stuff like that.
Just Urijah, Urijah Faber, on most everything. Yeah.
You heard the man. Go give him some love. Go follow him. And Urijah, as a gift for coming on the podcast, you will get the Black Label Edition Burn Factory hoodie and hat. Keep in mind, only guests get these.
Wow, this is rare.
It's rare, hey.
Very rare. And
when
the
you
shirt.
guys really blow up, I'm selling it.
There you go.
Right,
we're expecting some Team Alpha Male gear coming
back. We'll link up, man. I got all sorts of stuff.
Maybe Burn Factory goes trains at Team Alpha Male.
Oh, you're welcome.
We got some stuff brewing.
The fake injuries are coming.
It's okay. Take us back to our judo days.
Oh, you guys judo players. That's awesome. Golf and judo, that's a good combo.
Yeah, that is.
Not bad.
All right, guys. That's going to do it from this episode of the Burn Factory podcast. Like always, like, comment, and subscribe at the Burn Factory podcast.
And always, please visit my foundation as well, thepriestjamesfoundation.org. Again, thepriestjamesfoundation.org to understand why this is called the Burn Factory.
We'll see you guys for the next episode. Peace.
All right, guys, we're here with Urijah Faber, who just spelled burn in his life, and he is now the Burn Factory podcast champion.
Wow.
Woo! Congrats.
Thanks, guys.
You have fun? You enjoy it?
That was a good time, man.
Awesome.
Brought back some memories.
There you go. You're such an inspiration to us, and definitely a lot of inspiration to people out there. So we just want to thank you for coming on the podcast.
You got it, guys.